Welcome back to another episode of Hard Rock Garage. On today's episode, we're going to continue on with the 72 Chevy C20. We're going to go ahead and drop the front. We got some new springs from Performance Online. We've already dropped the rear, done a C-notch with an axle flip, and it's dropped pretty far. So we went ahead and brought her in, put her on jack stands. We're going to pull the wheels off and swap out some springs to see how the front looks. So let's get started. Okay, go ahead and start with the tie rod in here. Get that cotter pin out, and then we'll work on the tie rod loose. Move on to the next step. Okay, so here's our new coil spring. Like I said earlier, I got this from Performance Online, and supposedly these are good for the 1/2 ton and 3/4 tons. I specifically asked that because I couldn't find one that said 3/4 ton, and they gave me this part number and it showed that that was for a 1/2 ton, and I hit up their customer service and said it works for both. So by the way, if you get online with them, they did really good on customer service. So what we're gonna do is gonna be pretty much the same as what you guys see me do on my Torch off-road videos. We're gonna have to take off our tie rod in here, unbolt this, pull the pin out, pop that off. We'll put a jack underneath here, and then we'll have to pull our brake caliper off, undo the shock mount down here, which that's a lot easier with that being the older external one. And then we'll have to undo the upper ball joint. Once we undo the upper ball joint right here, I'll have the jack down here, and we'll go ahead and just lower that down, pull this stock spring out, and then put in our new one. So we got the cotter pins pulled on the upper ball joint. We'll go ahead and slide a jack underneath here, and then we're gonna knock this tie rod loose, finish pulling the nut off, pull the nut off on there, and we'll have to break this ball joint apart. And then we'll be in business. You want to do this, just put enough pressure underneath there to hold that spring in place, because if you don't, and you end up knocking this ball joint loose, I can just shove that spring right at you. That bottom A arm will drop, and it could throw that coil spring right at you, and that'd be a bad day. So they make a tool for this here tie rod in. It's a pitchfork, just like you use up here on the ball joint. But I don't ever use that. I just go ahead and give this just a little slight love tap. Just a love tap, that's all it takes. I'll get you guys in here better. Actually see what I'm doing. Yeah, I don't need my ugly mug in there anyway. Now that that's off, just go ahead and keep spinning this nut off. Remember, we've got tension with our jack stand down here. So just spin your upper ball joint nut back all the way to the end of the threads. All right, pretty well got it down towards the end of the threads here. See, that gives us some space, gives us a little gap. And this is where I do use a tool. We got a ball joint pitchfork. Got two different sizes of them. Probably go with this more narrow one here. Just want to knock that in there and try to separate this joint. I keep this one here so it doesn't just launch off, just in case you don't have the tension right. Just the extra safety precaution there. There it went. See how it popped off? Now, make sure, once again, let's go ahead and get you another couple pumps on your jack there. See how it went ahead and came up and the truck's not moving yet. So there's a lot of tension on it. Now, we've got all of our We got all of our tension on the spring. It's being held right inside this retainer here. This part of your cross member. So now we can go ahead and work this. All right, castle nut off. So now what I do is go ahead and step back away from the wheel well just in case. And I want to push that up without letting down on this. That way your tension stays on your spring. Now you've separated your upper A-arm from your spindle. Just put that sucker up there or wherever it decides it wants to go. Ooh, man, those bushings are wore out. Pretend I didn't see that. That's fine. All I've done is turn our spindle here. We're going to get these hex bolts here, one here, one here. We'll undo those, pull the caliper off. We should have done that first, but that's all right. I made you go ahead and just slide that A-arm back in there. But anyway, we'll pull that off, and that takes the tension off your brake line so we don't break anything. And that will allow us to go ahead and drop that lower A-arm and get our old spring out. You know, go ahead and grease some things up. That's probably what I should have done, but you know, I didn't. Normally, like on a customer's truck for a lift, I'll get this caliper and tie it up with some rope. I don't know what I did with my rope right now. We're just going to lay it on a sway bar there. I know, I get a little bit ahead of myself. My bad. I get excited. So 4 hours and 47 F-bobs later. Oh man, top shop mount is broken. And it has been beating and banging on the brake line for I don't know how long. But that's all broken. Bottom bolt of C's that needs to be cut. So that's fine. Sway bar bolts, same thing, they need to be cut on the A-arm. So I was able to undo the sway bar mounts on the front. So now I'm hoping that's going to be enough to allow the coil spring to come out. That should allow the A-arm to drop a little further with that sway bar being off, and our shock should just go ahead and stretch. So we'll try it again. Of course that shock's going to hold on to it. Why wouldn't it? There we go. That springs out. And that doesn't look much different. So we got the spring out. Here's the old spring next to the new spring. Now, I sure hope that's 4 inches. One coil. Boy, I guess we'll get it in there and see. That just doesn't seem like it's quite gonna be low enough, but we'll find out, I guess. Well, it sure didn't look much shorter when they were side by side, but maybe it will be. Let me get some of that crap out of there first, y'all. Wow. Holy cow. Check that out, guys. There's a broken spring right there. So new spring gonna go in. We'll slide this on the bottom. But check out what I found in there. This old coil spring was broken, so that's why when I had them sitting by each other, it didn't seem like much of a difference. It was missing an entire coil. Well, you know, I was sitting there thinking, I didn't really have to buy this suspension kit. I just wanted to. It's one of those want versus need things. You kind of waste money, but now that we've torn into this thing and we see that the coil spring was broken, I needed to buy it. So money well spent. Get her slid up in there. Oh yeah. A hell of a difference. Oh, scratched it. Yeah, buddy. I think I'm gonna like this. Kind of crazy that it had a broken coil spring on the front of this thing, you know. Sometimes you wonder if you should have spent the money that you spent, like buying a lowering kit for an old 3/4 ton truck, but obviously it's a good thing I did because that thing had a broken coil spring. So driver's side complete. Gonna go ahead and go over the passenger side, knock that one out real fast, bolt the sway bar back in it, and then we're gonna see how it sits. Come down easy. Yep. That lowered it just a bit. Well, it is lowered down now. See the front? We almost got a tuck here. Not quite, but it is lower for sure. You can see the rear is really low. Now remember, of course, the cab's sagging because I still haven't gotten these new mounts put in yet, but you know, we've got our C-notch and axle flip done. 4-inch springs in the front. I dropped it a decent amount. Not quite as much as I wanted though. So what that means is, I'm just gonna leave it for now. Work on some other stuff. So that's pretty good. That looks nice. Looks better. Okay, that's gonna do it for this one. Finally got the front end lowered like the back. So I think next I'm gonna go ahead and try to mess with this transmission. There's a few more things I wanna try before I just call it a wash. I'm afraid that the way this engine smokes and the noises it makes, I mean, it runs really good, but I want to do a compression test on it. I really think the rings are gone in it. And I think once it sits for a little while, when you start it up, it just blows smoke out right away. So that makes me think that it's got some valve guides out or something. So that oil's just sitting in the cylinder. Then when it busts off, it burns it. And of course it smokes the whole time it runs, but I think it's just all around worn out, and that transmission probably won't shift, but I'm gonna try it. So one more thing I need to do. I think next episode we'll go ahead and try to work on the driveline, and we'll make a decision on motor trans next. Anyway, guys, that's gonna do it. So another successful episode of the truck. It's coming along. Long way to go with this thing. But we've got a whole bunch of parts ready for it. Anyway, thanks for sticking with us on this one. A lot more to come with it. If you haven't already done it, subscribe to our channel. Check us out on Instagram. Check us out on Facebook. And always be looking for more episodes. Hit that little bell, let you know when we got some things coming up. And as always, thanks for watching, guys. We appreciate the support, and we'll see you next time.